everybody again. Hope you're all doing well. Preparing for a possible financial crash. Let's hope it doesn't happen. That's what we're doing, preparing for it, do what we can to be ready, just in case. If it doesn't happen this year, well, praise God for that, it'll be great. I pray every year that won't happen. It's just that the debt is mounting up. Therefore, it's a lot more likely this year in October than ever before. But today I'm not going to talk about economics. I'm going to read to you an interesting chapter from my first book, Out the Bottomless Pit. And this is about the Philadelphia experiment. So I'm reading you from chapter 23 of my book, Out the Bottomless Pit. It says here, the Philadelphia experiment, the Rainbow Project. Back in 1943, the American military wanted to use Einstein's unified field theory and test theories on time displacement to create an electromagnetic field around a ship to cause it to become invisible to radar. Nikola Tesla backed out of the project because he told the military scientists that using live sailors on the ship could prove fatal. However, the military, being in a hurry in 1943 to develop a cloak of invisibility, proceeded anyway, and he created a powerful electric field around a ship full of sailors, and then a powerful magnetic field at a right angle to the electric field. It is stated that the ship started to have a green aura around it, and then started to fade. The scientists observing from a sister ship very close by at the port of Philadelphia stated that the ship faded and then disappeared from the radar. At first, they were elated and believed the experiment had been a total success. However, one of the observers on the radar scope informed them that the ship had not only disappeared from radar, but actually totally vanished into thin air. The ship was teleported to another almost identical port 100 miles north for 9 hours, after which it allegedly returned to the port in Philadelphia. When the military and scientists examined the ship, they found to their absolute horror that many of the men were dead, or worse still, half buried into the metal of the hull of the ship, as they had dematerialized and been teleported to somewhere else, and then rematerialized, half embedded into the hull of the ship. It was also reported the dog was found inside out, dead of course. The sailors who survived this horror were all put in quarantine, and most of them died within a few years. Some kept disappearing repeatedly or fading away, then coming back for the rest of their lives. In spite of the abject horror suffered by the sailors, the military decided to perfect the Philadelphia experiment after the war. By 1980, they had sort of ironed out the snags to the Philadelphia experiment. However, this time, they had something more important in mind. They used this experiment to create what is now known as stealth aircraft and other contraptions. Well, more on the Philadelphia experiment. You can find a lot of info on the web about this topic. Al Bielek, a sailor aboard the USS Eldridge in 1943 and who participated directly in the Philadelphia experiment, died a couple of years ago. This book was written in 2014, so you're talking about 2012. Al Bielek died. Anyway, he had been a sailor had been on that, in that Philadelphia experiment. He gave lectures for many years about his experiences as a sailor aboard the USS Eldridge in 1943 and involved directly in the strange happenings of the Philadelphia experiment. The following is from the website from one of Al Bielek's lectures, The Philadelphia Experiment and the Montauk Project. What you're about to encounter is the most in-depth compilation of interviews with survivors of the Philadelphia experiment and the Montauk Project to date. The Montauk Project was what continued in 1983? Yeah, exactly 40 years after the Philadelphia experiment. They have to do it in 20-year cycles, so 40 years later will be two 20-year cycles, to do with the Earth, magnetic field of the Earth. The information comes from the memories of those who were interviewed. Because these projects are so secretive, gaining hard evidence is nearly impossible. However, that doesn't mean the projects never happened. This information is for those who want to pursue and know the truth. Sometimes finding the truth becomes elusive. There are many out there who do not want you to know the truth about these projects. Use your own judgment as you hear the words of these survivors. As you follow this story, use this information as a beginning resource to hopefully get you on the right track. The 4 people featured all testify they worked with Al at the Montauk Project, and some even remember him as Ed Cameron during the Philadelphia experiment. So keep an open eye, yet discerning mind, and get ready. This is not me talking, this is Al Bielek talking in one of his lectures. So keep an open yet discerning mind and get ready to change your paradigm. End of excerpt. This is a very important topic, as it not only mentions an experiment gone tragically wrong, but it also marks modern man's introduction to the UFOs and meeting the Greys by the USA military in 1943. This is a 4-year earlier than Roswell, which was 1947. There was an earlier Roswell-type event in Bavaria, Germany in 1938. See this link for 50 pages of fascinating info. There is a lot to talk about concerning both these subjects. That's the Philadelphia experiment and the Montauk project, both involving in dimensions and time. And the reappearance of the Nephilim, or better known as the masquerading fallen angels, mentioned the oldest book of man, which is the Book of Enoch, supposedly told around 500 years after the biblical creation, take on the ark by Noah. There are many books on visits by aliens, but most of them just don't get the point that these visitors are not from other planets or galaxies, but in reality they have their base in the center of our planet and are descendants of the fallen angels mentioned in both Genesis chapter 6 and the Book of Enoch chapter 6. Disclaimer by the author, that's me. Since I personally have never been into space or personally visited other worlds and galaxies, I cannot say whether or not there are intelligent life forms or on millions of planets of other stars for sure. I will state, however, I think it very likely that we're not alone in the universe, as God is a creator and is always creating something new. If it only took God 6 days to create the whole physical universe, then what has he been doing for the last 6,000 years since the creation, which equals 2,190,000 days? Is that right? No. Goodness. God could have created millions of other universes, dimensions, or even parallel universes, etc. in all that time. Who knows? I guess we'll have to wait and see. As for the spirit beings, such as Satan and the fallen angels, did they, being multi-dimensional beings, have access to other parts of the galaxy and universe during the past 6,000 years of creation? Have they built structures on other planets and faraway solar systems and other galaxies? You can find photos from NASA clearly showing edifices on the dark side of the moon, pyramids and a sphinx on Mars, and a very strangely a massive wall going a third of the way around one of the moons of Saturn, Iaptus. Who built that wall, estimated to be a ridiculous 50,000 feet high? For what purpose was it built? Please investigate this particular topic for yourselves. You'll find it absolutely fascinating. Well, that's one of the experiments they did. Next time I'll read to you from the next chapter about the Montauk project. The second time they messed around with time and space and dimensions. That's even more fascinating. But I'll read that next time. I hope you enjoyed that little summary of the Philadephia or the Rainbow Project, which the military carried out in 1943. Try and make ships invisible to radar, but it ended up being visible completely and teleporting a whole ship full of sailors to another port in America, and that's been documented many, many times as having happened. Anyway, have a great day, everybody.